Good morning and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back today. This is the beginning of the week, which is this week, which is the episode we do first every week on Sunday. Lately, it's been coming out fairly late in the afternoon because of the setup and the situations. But I'm quite happy. This setup, I think, is fine with me now. I'm pretty good with that. Lighting, I'm still not 100% on, but it's clear. There's no fuzzies on it or anything like that. I am going to change the bulb in the room to a white light bulb, which really does do a big difference, I think. And I'm okay with the window light as well. So overall, I'm quite happy with it. The mic, of course, I'm happy with. It's working fairly well. When my good computer comes back from my friend's house, then we'll be 100% set to go, So that's what it's all about, getting as good a quality as you can get. Okay, so we're here for the first episode of this week, which coincidentally is called This Week. Now, the last half dozen or so, or maybe even 3 or 4, I'm not sure. Anyways, it's been coming out later, mostly because of the situations I was in with the internet and the lighting and all that stuff and time constraints. But those things exist no more. So now I'm going to try and get everything out on time when it's supposed to be on time with the content as good as it can possibly get. That's my goal for this channel now. So this week is an episode we do every week on Sunday. It's supposed to come out around noon. I'm just going to try to make it for noon every day, every Sunday. And basically it just is a show that talks about what is happening on the channel for the week that we are currently in. I will be indulging a little bit this week in what's coming in the future. And then, of course, I correct anything in the past. There wasn't really anything in the past this week that I think is really that notable, so I'm not going to go on about that. So we will get into what's happening on the channel. So the first episode that comes out every week after this week is 2 music commonalities compared. This is a show that Ben had an idea for. We discussed it and came up with a format that works for both of us. So how it works is he picks two music commonalities, 2 things that have something in common with each other, and then I listen to or I talk about those 2 items on the show as I am now. So the 2 last week, of course, he did the 2. I think it was it the 2 drummers? No, that was a couple weeks ago. Can't remember what it was last week. Anyways, it doesn't matter. This week's commonalities are the 2 albums that both come from Jethro Tull, pretty much on top of each other, I think. Songs from the Wood, one of my favorite albums, one of my top 10 favorite albums of all time, and Heavy Horses. There is a lot of things in common with these 2 albums, and I think this will be an interesting show for the 2 music commonalities this week. So you've got 2 Jethro Tull albums. I think they came out back to back. I'm just trying to see the date here on Heavy Horses. I know this one was 77, so this one may be a little bit. There might be one in between them. I'm not 100% sure, but lots of stuff here that is very similar. So it should be an interesting commonalities comparison for that show this week. And that show comes out, of course, Sunday night at 8 o'clock. The next show to come out is the Monday night's look back at a classic rock album. This is probably the first and longest running show on the channel. I've been doing this since I decided to make shows. Before that, I was just kind of putting out stuff here and there and getting a feel for what I like to do. And this show was one of the first 2 or 3 that I decided to have as an actual show every week. And it's probably my favorite to do. So this week I've decided and to do this album, White Snakes, Come and Get It. It's kind of funny. I looked to make sure that I hadn't actually done this first, and I also looked to see how many Whitesnake albums I had actually done, and I was surprised to find out I haven't done any. That surprised me a great deal. This is a band I like a lot, so this will be the first Whitesnake look back at a classic rock album. I actually adore this album. It's probably my favorite Whitesnake album. Not 100% sure of that. I have quite a few of them. But really, this was the first one I ever owned. And you all know that there's that speciality when you get something for the first time and you like it. That particular album may end up not being their best album, but somehow it ends up being one of your favorites anyways. So we'll be doing Whitesnake's Come and Get It for a look back at a classic rock album this Monday at 8 o'clock. The next show up is a new one. So this is a Tuesday night I have altered, as many of you know. So last week we did a new show that came out and premiered last week. This week will be the alternate that will come out every second week. Now this one is a mini series as opposed to a regular show. Ben gave me this over the weekend or during the end of last week. We discussed what we wanted to do to put in that second spot for the bi-weekly episode. And he had, I think, an excellent idea. And so we're going to run this as a mini-series. So there will be 6 episodes in total. So with it being bi-weekly, it'll take about 12 weeks or 3 months to complete the series. And it's going to be called Decades. And so what it is he's given me the challenge of putting out my 10 favorite albums of each decade. And we're going to start in the 60s, so that means 6 episodes, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2000 teens, or tweens, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, so we'll be doing a top 10 of 10 favorite albums. I'll rank them according to how I like them. I've already done the first episode's list. I'm going to go through it and make my list from the ones I've chosen. I've got about 30 on there. Could have easily gone 60 or 80 albums here, but as I was looking at them, I knew kind of roughly which albums would be at the cusp of getting on. So anything that didn't quite or wasn't close to that, I just didn't bother with. But I still got about 30 albums to go through and figure out which ones go in. I'm going to do this the way I kind of like to do it. I don't want it to be dominated by 1 or 2 bands, so I'm going to limit it to 2 albums per band. So you might end up with a couple of bands that have 2 albums on it, but generally speaking, I'm going to try and stay away from that because it's only going to be my 10 favorites. I could have done a 20 favorites, but 10 favorites seems to be good enough for this particular series. So we're going to do 10 albums, my 10 favorite albums from each decade over a 6-week period or over a 6-episode period over 12 weeks. And it's going to be featured called Decades. Of course, the first one will be the 1960s, which we will put out this Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Okay, the next episode up is Favorites. This is also one of the original episodes on the channel. Came out the same week, started the same week as Look Back at a Classic Rock Album, and has continued. It's probably the most watched video. I don't know if it's the favorite one, no puns intended, but definitely the most watched video. I think if you would total up the amount of watches on this one over all the others, I think it's pretty clear it's the number one. This will come out Wednesday at 8 o'clock. This week I'm doing it's another 25. I did a 5 last week and a 25 the week before, so I'm going to go on with the 25 again this week. And this one's going to go out to our king, who's a regular viewer of this channel. He's been with me almost since the beginning. I think he's one of the original 20 or 30 guys that came on the episode. And I feel like I kind of owe him a lot of credit for constantly pushing on one particular band, because he's made that band make a rebound with me. So we're going to do another set list. This will be my 25 songs that I would like to see in a set list from Triumph. Yes, and this will be fun to do. I've got a couple more of these, but I'm going to intermingle. I'm not going to try to do them all in a row. It gets kind of boring. So this one I wanted to do fairly quickly to show Mr. King here that I do listen to what he says, and he does say quite a bit of things that, have forced me to look at stuff that maybe I wouldn't have gone there, but I'm happy I did. So the band we're doing, of course, is Triumph, and this is currently in my playlist, one of my favorite albums at present time. Excellent cover, and has really kind of launched Triumph back into my main fold, which is good because they were one of my favorite bands at one time, and they are now making a huge comeback. So, favorites, 25 songs set list for Triumph. And that will come out, of course, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Okay, Thursday, ranking of the songs off of an album. This is a show that is a bi-weekly show, alternates with album sides. Last week we did album sides, so this week we're doing ranking the songs off an album. I've chosen to do an album that I was surprised I actually hadn't done, but I think I probably did it as an album sides, so I might have missed that part. But anyways, it's an album that I've grown to love. I still love it a lot. I think it's one of the best and one of the best produced albums of all time. Crime of the Century from Supertramp. I was debating between this and Breakfast in America, but I decided at this point, I wanted to do this one. I will probably do Breakfast in America at some point as well because I do love both of them. Actually, I love almost all the Supertramp stuff. I can't say there's not really a bad album in the set. So we will be doing Crime of the Century from Supertramp for ranking the songs off an album, which will come out Thursday at 8 o'clock. So Friday night's episode, we all know this is ranking the albums off of ranking the albums. This is another show that Ben and I have put together. It was his idea. He came up with the concept, and we were going to maybe do a 10-1, then we were going to do a 6-1. We had a bunch of different ideas, and I said, 4 is a perfect number because I can listen to an album a night and then be ready by Friday for it, and that's what I tend to do. And I really liked some of the ones he's done. It really introduced me to 2 or 3 bands that, I'll be honest, I had known about, but really wasn't pursuing any of them because I had some other stuff going on, and I'd done a 180 on them. So one of those bands, of course, is Griffin, a band that I've grown to like quite a bit, and I got that all from this particular show that we do. So ranking of the albums this week will feature Opeth, and I want to make sure I get this next band's name right because it's a band I've not ever heard of before. It's called Hatfield and the North. That's the second band. The third band is called Rock Drill. I think it's Rock Drill, and then Spectrum is the last band. These last 3 bands I've not ever heard of before. They're all completely new to me, so I'll be interested to hear what I'm going to hear here. Last week's primarily metal ranking was, there was a couple bands, like most of the bands on there I knew, but I hadn't pursued too much, and I was pleasantly surprised with them. I've already listened to one of the albums, so I just have the other 3 to do, and this will come out Friday at 8 o'clock normal. So the next, now we're to the weekend. We have 3 for next Saturday. It's just the way it's kind of gone. So the first one to come out next Saturday will be my playlist, which is something I do once a month, middle of the month, to kind of offset the new albums I purchased at the end of the month. So I have that one at the end of the month and this one in the middle of the month. So playlist is basically an episode that we do, like I said, once a month, in which I talk about how my playlist is going, what's come out of my playlist and why it came out, and what's new and going into my playlist. And then I give you a ranking of my 5 favorite current playlist albums. And then I may talk to you about what I've been listening to in recent times as well, because I tend to go now on these kind of skits where I pick a band that has interested me, and I'll go through their entire discography and listen to their albums just to get a real feel for what they do. That worked really well with Griffin. It's worked pretty well with Hawkwind, and I think it'll work well with the ones I'm going to be doing this week. Okay, so that's for my playlist. That will come out roughly at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday this week. The Saturday at 8 o'clock show will be What's New. This is new as well. What's New was originally on the Thursday night, but Thursday night is a tough night to do a review of an album. I just don't have the time and nor really the patience. So I moved it to a Saturday where I have much more time and more patience, which is what I really want to do with this. I enjoyed doing last week's Seasides, the Seaside project, Foxes on the Road, which was really an interesting album, and I wouldn't have got to do that if I continued to do it on Thursday. So Thursday I moved the ranking of the songs and the album sides too, so that now that's there, and this is now moved to Saturday at 8. The album that we're going to be doing this week for this show is from a band called Wheel, and the album is titled Charismatic Leader. So this is another Prog album that has been on my list to do. Starting after this week, though, I'm going to try and get more of the stuff that's in July and August, and June and July and August up to date. I've been kind of ignoring some of the more recent stuff to get some of this backlog stuff done. There's still lots to do. I may not get them all in, and try to do the ones that I think I like and that you might like the best. Okay, so that's Saturday at 8. Saturday at 11, the 11 o'clock show, the only one I have, and I put it at that time because it is a metal. Metal is back, and I decided to choose a band that I took from ranking of the albums, a band that I had never heard before. I had heard of them, but I had never heard anything from them, and I was really surprised. Their sound is very different than anything I've heard in the metal realm. And I actually like the mixture. It's a kind of a electronic, kind of symphonic, maybe not symphonic, but definitely an electronic, almost poppy electronic metal sound. I don't know if that's a combo you can put together, but the band is called Rammstein. So they will be the band that I feature this week on metal. And metal, I'm going to change it a bit now too. I'm going to pick the bands I want to do rather than continue with the alternations of new and old. It may end up where I'm doing a couple of olds in a row. It may be that where I'm doing 2 or 3 news in a row. Whatever band I think is of interest to me that week, that's the one I want to do because that's where my interest lies, so I might as well capitalize on that. So metal is now going to change to that. So we will just be doing metal bands only. All different genres. Some genres I enjoy a lot more than other genres, but I'm going to try and keep it balanced so that it's not just dominated by one particular metal genre. And there are so many, probably more metal genres than most any others. So anyways, Rammstein will be the band and the album that we do this week. Okay, so that's it. There's going to be 10 shows this week. I hope you can show up for some of them or pick the ones that you like. I hope this episode helps you with that. We will also be doing the Led Zeppelin mini-series. I'm hoping to get, I'm not hoping, it's going to come out this week. It's just a matter of what day. I'm not 100% sure of if I can really pick out on what I want today, then I will know for sure later in the day. But that's the series that I'm going to be doing for the week. I'm going to be talking about certain elements of their albums. I've picked 5 albums. It'll be a 5-album mini-series, and I'll be talking about those elements on each of the 5 albums that I like. Led Zeppelin is a band that goes back with me almost to the beginning of my rock exploration back in the late 80s. Back in the late 70s. Before that, I was basically a Kiss fan, so I wouldn't have called myself a rock fan because that was the only band I kind of listened to. Every once in a while, I would do a few other things, but generally speaking, it was pretty much dominated by that. But in the late 70s, like 78, mid 78 and on, I had a friend that was really a pioneer in listening to the music for me and kind of pushing me in that direction. I thank him. He was a childhood friend that I had for a long time, and really kind of pushed me into the music genre of rock. And for that, I am ever grateful. And so I exploded in the late 70s, and by 1980s, a lot of bands were, there was 4 at first, and then it just exploded, and I was listening to everything. And one of those bands was Led Zeppelin, just a fantastic band, and I wanted to do something on them because I did something on the Beatles. I wanted to do something on Zeppelin, so we'll be doing a Zeppelin 5-episode mini-series starting at some point during the week. I'm going to say that it'll start Wednesday and go through to Sunday, but that's about 90% how it's going to go. So I hope to see you for these episodes, and we will see you throughout the week. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe. The subscription really helps me. Maybe I'll get to a point where I'll be able to use that extra, whatever income it is that I get, to buy more albums and talk more about them. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. And at some point in the future, we'll also be doing another live video. I'm not sure what day yet. It probably won't start till September. By then, everything should be 100% sorted out, and I'll be able to do that. I'm hoping by that time that I might, by Christmas, I'm hoping to start having guests on the show, because I'll be over 3 years now. I think that I feel comfortable enough with what I'm doing that I can start having some guests on the show as well. And I hope that people want that. And if you don't want it, please tell me, because as much as I love doing this, it's also about what you guys want too. If you guys don't want that kind of stuff, then I'm not gonna pursue it. Anyways, I hope to see you throughout the week. Please don't forget to hit the like. Any comments about what I've said, or anything you would like to see, or anything that you think you would like to say about the channel, or anything, you can put that in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, and we will see you next Saturday, or next Sunday actually, for another episode of This Week. Take care. Bye.